this is Sweetly with another Honkai Star Rail video. Version 1.3 is almost out, and we have two very powerful 5-star characters featured, Mega Heng and Xuan. In this video, I'll go over the characteristics of each and hopefully help you decide which one best suits you, or if you should pull or skip both. A funny and somewhat accurate simplification is, if you have a Lunae, I recommend you pull for Mega Heng. If you have a Silver Wolf, I recommend you pull for Xuan. Obviously, there are some nuances, so let's talk about the characters. First, we have Mega Heng. He is an imaginary destruction character and is the epitome of a hyper carry character. The highlight of his kit is the ability to consume up to 3 skill points per turn and deal enormous damage. In this respect, you can think of him as a stronger and more consistent Jingliu. Although Mega Heng needs skill points to realize his max potential, he is also very flexible in terms of skill point usage. For instance, he can use 3 skill points one turn and then normal attack the next turn. This only results in -2 skill points over 2 turns, which is the same as other skill-only carries. The biggest benefit of this flexibility is buff uptime. For example, Yuko's ultimate uptime is very low, but if Mega Heng does 80% of his damage on the turn it is up, the effective uptime skyrockets. Therefore, Yuko and Branya are great supports for him, as well as Asta and Tingling. Mega Heng's best relic set will likely be 2+2, which means it is very easy to farm for him, and speed boots might not even be best in slot. Attack percent possibly preferred, so it makes it even easier. He is also not heavily reliant on his light cone versus other hyper carries, as he skills off attack, and the Herta shop destruction light cone is a great alternative for him. Therefore, I recommend pulling for Mega Heng if you're lacking a strong DPS and like playing hyper carry comps. He becomes especially enticing if you already have Lunae, who can generate a large number of skill points for him while keeping the team alive. In terms of future value, I can see Hoyoverse introducing more skill point related mechanics, like the giving and taking of skill points in the Vantilia battle, or characters that can regenerate more than 1 skill point a turn. This could be an indirect way of buffing Mega Heng in the future. On the other hand, if you already have solid DPS options, Mega Heng doesn't really bring anything too impressive to the table, and you might want to consider Xuan, our long-awaited quantum preservation character. As a 5-star preservation unit, I have no doubt that she can solo sustain for an entire team. Xuan, with the added benefit of the new 4-star being featured on her banner, naturally synergizes well with Silver Wolf. While the ideal mono-quantum team still lacks a quantum support unit, you can already play something like Sealy plus Silver Wolf, Xuan or Lynx, and Jingliu. More importantly, since Xuan and Lynx covered the sustain slot, dual-type Silver Wolf teams become a lot more viable as there are a lot more support options. You can pair Sealy Silver Wolf and Xuan or Lynx with any combination of Branya, Tingling, Pella, or Yuko, depending on enemy type and weakness. While Xuan synergizes well with Silver Wolf, she is by no means only good in those teams. Compared to heals or shields, Xuan's team damage mitigation has several advantages. First, the effective HP of Xuan's allies goes up drastically. This means it'll be much easier to survive through burst damage, such as the Gorilla Ape's punches or future enemies of this type. This is a big advantage over healing-based sustain. Another hidden benefit is Xuan allowing her allies to build less defensive gear, since they don't need as much HP or defense to ensure that they don't get one-shot. Second, since Xuan's damage mitigation is tied to Xuan's turns, you can have 100% uptime, which is a huge advantage over shield-based sustains. For instance, with Gepard on a Sealy team, it's common for Sealy to go too fast and lose her shield well before Gepard can reapply them, since the shield uptime is tied to Sealy's turns. Xuan also gives bonus HP and crit rate to her allies, making her half a Harmony character on top of being a sustain unit. None of our other sustain options do this without the help of Eidolons. Xuan's gear requirements are also pretty easy. The Herta shop preservation light cone is also great for her, since she will always be taking damage. However, Xuan does have some disadvantages. Compared to Lunae, who does not need to use skill points, she needs to use 1 skill point every 3 turns, so she will only generate 1 skill point every 3 turns versus Lunae's 3, which is a huge difference. However, this difference becomes much smaller the moment you encounter content that requires Luocha to use his skill every once in a while, since you will most likely never need to use Fuxuan's skill other than to just refresh the duration of her buff. Her banner is also comparatively weaker, since even though Lynx is a new character that has a lot of potential, especially with Clara and Blade, if you're already pulling for Fuxuan, you might have too many sustain options. Pella has already been featured repeatedly, and while the first copy is great, she has weak Eidolons compared to Asta or Rikong, who can really benefit from having more copies. Hook is a fairly weak fire DPS, and with Topaz coming soon, I don't see a bright future for her. To summarize, I recommend pulling for Mega Danhen if you're lacking a strong DPS, and Fuxuan for players that have Silver Wolf or are missing sustain units. Otherwise, you can consider skipping both for Jingliu and Topaz in 1.3. Thank you for watching, and best of luck if you're pulling.